Better?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you want you to crank that down a little bit.
The science building with like, okay, it's just a basic thing that's, I mean, unless you're at the front, okay, right at the front. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. To everybody's pleasure, Dr. Hemrick is back off the IR and is with us again today. So during her sick time yesterday, she put together all kinds of information about spectrograms. So that'll be the topic today. Just to review, the extra credit assignment will be open up on D2L right at the end of class. Okay, so take a look at that. It's take home, it's 5 points. You have to do it on your own though, it's not group work. Okay, and it's all laid out in the assignment. It will be due on Tuesday morning. So Dropbox at Tuesday morning by 8:29. Okay? Any questions or issues from yesterday as far as the research? A couple people have been gathering data, going okay. So far so good. Kind of experimenting things. Give yourself some time because things come up. Okay? Unexpected things come up, so if you're right against a hard deadline, you're going to have more issues. So give yourself a cushion. Okay?
Okay, you guys ready to talk about spectrograms?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Lots of times people think these are kind of scary. Can you turn me down one more notch? Sorry, I'm not used to having a speaker, so this is going to throw me off a little bit. So spectrograms can be a little intimidating when you look at them. So today we're going to focus on what do you look for each kind of sound. Know that when we're teaching you this, we're not going to give you a spectrogram and ask you to tell us every single sound and every single word that you're looking at in that spectrogram. We couldn't even do that. Okay? But you should be able to recognize whether it's a vowel or a consonant, and you should be able to recognize classes of consonants. Okay? So what we're going to start with today, how many people have had phonetics or are in it right now? Perfect, that's what I thought. So this should not be new, right? Everybody should have seen this before. Place, manner, and voicing, when we're talking about consonants, are the features that distinguish them. That's how we determine which consonant is being spoken, or we're trying to. So we're just going to go through these, fly through these really quickly so that we can spend more time looking at the pictures. If you're not sure and feel like you want to brush up a little bit, this website from Iowa has some great visuals that may help you out. Okay, so I'm not going to go there today though. All right, so when we talk about places of articulation, talking about what? Where we're putting the articulation, right? So talking about lips or tongue and where the sound is being made, where we're making that closure. So, you hopefully have seen all of these before. I can post this for you guys. It may already be up there, I'm not sure. So, anywhere from bilabial way at the front of the oral cavity to velar sounds and even glottal, all the way back through the oral cavity and anywhere in between, right? We can make a constriction. We can move our tongue around a lot of different ways. When we were in A&P, we talked about all those muscles in the tongue that let you move it around, okay? Here's where it's coming into play, making all these consonant sounds, okay? So manner talks about how closed is the vocal tract. So what's an example of one manner of articulation? Somebody start to say it. Stops, right? Complete closure, right? With a stop, you close it all the way, and then you release it. What's another one? Fricatives. What do you do with a fricative?
Let's block all the air.
You almost block all the air, right? You create a really small opening, and as the air rushes through there, what happens?
It sounds like noise.
It sounds like noise. These things that you guys are talking about are going to become important when we look at the spectrograms. That's what I'm having you say them right now. Okay? Any other class that you can think of? We don't have to do them all, but let's do one more. Say it again. Nasals, right? So what do we hear when we hear a nasal sound? I hear people doing it, right? Sound coming out through the nose are the nasal passages, right? And so we're going to be able to see that on spectrogram. Okay? So you guys got 3 out of the however many. We're going to add vowels and diphthongs in here too when we talk about spectrograms today. Okay? All right, last thing, voicing. So what's the difference between a voiced and voiceless sound? So sometimes it's true. Vocal fold vibration, right? So do you turn your voice on, bring the vocal folds together and make them vibrate, or do you leave them open and just use air? Right? So, voiceless, no air, no vocal fold vibration. They off threw me off. Okay? But if you do ba, now you have your vocal folds vibrating while you do that same place and manner of articulation. Right? So the only difference is whether your vocal folds are on or off between those two. This is a good time to bring up a concept called categorical perception. See, write that on the board over there. Anybody heard that term before? If you have, what does it mean? It's easy to talk about with voicing. So hut and but are a good example. Two sounds that differ on just one thing, voicing, right? Everything else about them is the same. Place is totally the same, manner totally the same, only voicing differs. So what this means is, when we make a P versus a B, there's a continuum. So you might not make it the same as you might not, you may make it different. You are different and you are different, and everybody makes these sounds a little bit different. But there is a point, somewhere in the middle, where it's always going to be judged as a P over here, and always judged as a B over here. So for these, with voicing, it really has to do with how long does it take to turn the voice on. A couple other factors, but that's the big one. Okay, but really what it comes down to is, even though there's a continuum of how we can make that sound, at some point, there's really just two categories. There's that cutoff point, the boundary, phonetic boundary, across which we will always perceive it one way or the other. That makes sense to everybody? Okay, so this is one example. Any voiceless contrast will work, so all of those up there. You can do it with things across categories too. It doesn't always have to be just two different stops that you can contrast. Okay, so I can't think of any off the top of my head, so we can ponder that. I'll come back to it later. Okay, so any questions about placement and voicing? I know that was super fast. Okay, so when you guys were online the other day, you spent a little time categorizing sounds and thinking about what are the major characteristics of those. You've already alluded to a few of them. So let's just talk through really quickly. What are the characteristics of each one? So nasals, we already sort of talked about. What is the characteristic of nasal sound? Yeah, nasal air through the nasal passages, nasal resonance, we call that, right? So you have energy, harmonic energy happening within the nasal passages. Okay, takes away a little bit from what's coming out of the oral cavity. Makes sense, right? If you channel the air up through the nose, you're going to lose some of what's coming out the mouth. Okay. What about glides and liquids? What do you guys know about those? What are glides and liquids? Yup, what, right? So start with yup and what. If you're not sure what some of the characteristics are, make it in your mouth and feel what is happening. They're moving, right? So they're not staying in one position to make that sound. So when we look at the spectrogram, we're going to look for a transition. We're going to look for movement in the formants. You guys already know about formants. We're going to use those a lot today. Liquids, same thing. What do you do for an R? Or an L? Think about F3. For the last exam, we said don't worry about it too much. Don't worry about it. Tongue tip, right? Okay, so we're moving our tongue tip really high for L, sort of high for R. It's going to affect F3. So when we look at a spectrogram, we're going to see a dip in F3 anytime that we make these sounds. Okay? What about stops? What do you know about stops? How would you describe them? So what do? So you're forcing air through, but then you cut it off, you stop it, right? So we call that the stop gap. So there's a period where no air is moving, right? And then, what were you going to add?
I was just going to say that they were like quick sounds.
They are very fast comparatively to everything else. We don't hold them out. They're transient versus more continuous sounds. So that's another term that we've used before. What else? What happens after you have stopped the air? You release the air, and what does it sound like? What does that sound like? Noise, right? You have this big release burst that has extra noise in it. Okay, so those are the big things with stop, the stop gap. gap and that release burst. We can look at voice onset time a little bit. We can look at formant transitions, but I think the two big ones and the one that you'll see the most is the release burst when we look at the pictures. Okay, fricatives we talked about already. What's the big characteristic of those? Noise, right? I can't hear very well today, so I'm assuming somebody just said that. Help me out, Mr. Sid. Okay, so lots of noise energy. Where is noise on the frequency spectrum? It's at all frequencies, and for some of these fricative sounds, it's going to be concentrated at higher frequencies. So 3,000 hertz and above, right? So if my voice is around 200 hertz, and I do, we measure the frequency of that, mostly going to be up in the really high frequencies. Okay, just setting it up for these pictures. Last category, affricates. What do you know about affricates? What are they?
The stops.
Yeah, stops and fricatives together, right? So what do you think you're going to look for on a spectrogram? Yeah, so probably a little bit of a release burst like the stops, some of that noise like the fricatives, okay? So it's going to be a combination of those characteristics. Okay, so what we're going to do is read some spectrograms together. Can you guys hear me now? Hope you guys appreciate this. I made these yesterday.
Well, you were sick. Made them all.
I wasn't really sick, just contagious. Okay. So when we're looking at spectrograms, let me flip ahead to one. They look something like this. So remember that spectrograms can show us 3 variables, which is pretty cool. They have time going across the x-axis. What's on the y-axis? Frequencies, right? Hertz. Okay? And then intensity is related to how dark the bars are. Okay? So the first one that I have up here are vowels. Make sure I didn't miss anything. So this first group is vowels. So since you guys have already spent a lot of time thinking about vowels, what do you look for to determine what vowel somebody is saying? You look for the formants. What were you saying? Yeah, so you look at the formant pattern, right? You're looking to see if the formants are evenly spaced, and if they're not, which way they've moved from that even spacing. Okay? So up here we have no schwa, so you can't compare to that even spacing, but we have an E. So this formant, this is that bar right here. Maybe around, I don't know, 400 hertz or so, 500 hertz. Okay, yours don't match up to this, so don't think that you have to be looking at your paper yet. We'll get to that in a second. Okay. Second formant, here it is. Third formant, and there's actually more up above. Okay. So we're looking for those bars on here. So here's A. Again, second formant, third formant. Okay. Ooh, same kind of idea. So you see how you look at those to find formant patterns? And if you really wanted to, you could measure, you could look at the y-axis and figure out what frequency roughly those are at, compared to your vowel quadrilateral, or if you've memorized the rules, you could use that too. Figure out what vowel it is if you didn't even have this, right? Okay, so your job now is to look at your sheet. There are 4 vowels on there. Remember that they're going to be really steady all the way across. All you need to do is try to circle them. You can work with your team. You have about 2 minutes to do it, so I don't want you to spend hours and hours on this. But look for some that are very steady and have formants. Circle or star or whatever. These are all different kinds of sounds on here. They're all mixed up. Look at the bottom part. Good question. So as you're looking at these, this top part is the actual sound wave. Okay, so you can't even hardly see it on your copy, so just ignore that. You're looking at this bottom piece. This is the spectrogram. It should look a lot like this. Okay? And there's lines on there to help you see where the formants are.
just look for evenly spaced like this. So how they're reacting. So you can like outline them. Well, like don't cross lines when you're together. But like mine's like cross like this one. And
so that first one is an ah, and you can see those dotted lines going across. Is that the, can you slide it down? Yeah, I was going to say that didn't work. Okay, so this dotted line right here, he holds it steady, there we go. First formant, right? This one, second formant. Here's the third formant, here's fourth formant, and there probably are lots of other formants that we're just not measuring at this point. Okay, do the formants have to be evenly spaced? No. In fact, we wouldn't expect them to be because this is an ah, right? Unless it's a schwa, it really shouldn't be right at 1,500, 2,500, or whatever that we calculated in the last unit. Okay, anybody find another one? There was a group back there that found another one. The fourth one in on the bottom row is an A. So.
Fourth one.
So, okay, so here you have first formant down at the bottom, second formant, third formant, okay? So just a different vowel, but notice now the spacing of the formants is different, which fits more with the A versus the ah tongue placement. Okay? So just to tell you where the other two are, let's see. Okay, capitalize my, where did my A go? I think I lost one.
Yeah, we've got
Oh, I see it, okay. So on the back page, second one, bottom row, right there, that's an oo. So here's first formant, second formant, third formant, okay? I'm not sure what this line is in the middle. All right. Then the last one, that's why I capitalized my E. Back on the front side, fourth one in the second row, right there. Okay, so as I was coming around, flip back
Yep.
That was E. Yep. So fourth one in the second row on the front is E. So as I was coming around, what I noticed is a lot of people were confusing, especially nasals, with vowels, which is really easy to do. So let's look at, we're going to skip diphthongs for a second. Let's look at nasals. So you guys have already said, we use the nasal cavity. We have this tissue lining in there. These are the features that we're going to look for on the spectrogram. So one, the formants are going to look weaker, not as dark. Otherwise it looks like a vowel. It has the same kind of formant patterns. Where are the formants going to be spaced? What do you think? What will determine how the formants are spaced? Yeah, the sounds before and after the nasal. Okay, so this is in isolation, so it's probably fairly neutral, so we should expect them to be relatively evenly spaced. But if I had an ah before it, the formants in my nasal will be similar to the ah, right? Okay. The other thing that we look for, and this is the big feature of nasals, it has this formant that's way low, under 400 hertz, and it's really, really heavy, really dark, so you can see it really easily. Okay, so here's some examples of what they might look like. Okay, so here's an M, N, and G. So the first thing I want you to notice, you really can't tell the difference from M to N to NG. They all kind of look the same. That's why I'm not asking you to try to tell them apart when you look at this, but just be able to look for a nasal. But notice how we can see the formant bars here, but they're really faint, right? They're not very strong. And see this great big black bar at the bottom? That's the nasal formant. Really, really heavy. Okay? So look at your sheet. There's 3 nasals on there. See if you can find them. Look for that nasal formant. There's one right here.
Definitely this one on the back. I was thinking maybe
So, part of that is the
no, I have that.
Okay, we ready? Guys, complete your scavenger hunt and find the nasals. Okay, so where do you think they are? I had one group probably one up here. One of you guys might.
The first one on the back page.
Back page, second to last in the bottom row.
back
This one right here.
page. Back page, second to
Yep,
last.
you got it right there. That's an NG. Right? So you've got, I know this one looks really dark. So I was just telling this group up here, I recorded these on myself in the sound booth on, what was that, Monday afternoon when I was feeling pretty yucky. So they may not be perfect because who knows what was happening in my nasal passages that day. Okay, so typically the formants would not be this dark. You would see some anti-resonance there, okay, because most of it should be concentrated. And you do have that good dark nasal bar down here, nasal resonance. Okay, so that one's good. Any other guesses? M and N? I'll give you a hint, they're both on the other side. Fourth row, third row you mean? Yeah, second one in. Yes,
Third row.
You're right, that is. So, we had a good guess and an accurate guess right here. That's an N. Okay? So again, this must be my pattern to have really heavy formants, not typical. But you do have that vicinity.
But aren't all nasals voiced?
They are, so that's why it gets so dark down there, because it has the nasal formant and voicing together. So you get this big mess of sound, and you really can't separate them out. Yeah.
The last one is the second one.
Yes, good. Hey, you guys are getting good at this. Okay, so, second row, there we go. Right here. So lots of energy at the bottom, okay? Typically, these formants wouldn't be as strong, but, you know. Okay, that's the end. That's my end. So I encourage you all to play with this in prep, see what yours looks like. If you record yourself and just zoom in, view and edit, and then zoom in, you should be able to look at sounds. If you make one at a time, you can look at each individual one. Or
So Dr. Hemrick, do yours, given your congestion and things, do yours tend to have a little more, look a little more like a vowel
Yes.
than
Yes.
nasal? There's usually a little more definitive
right.
sub
So
500.
usually these would be lighter, and this will be even darker, and that's probably because I'm not getting much nasal resonance. Because my tonsils were in the way, they were so inflamed that no sound was getting into my nose. Okay, that makes a difference.
So if you're looking at those and you're thinking, boy, that looks a lot like a vowel, you can see the differences, but if you're thinking that, that makes sense in a way.
Yeah. And nasals are really similar to vowels. They're almost vowels, where we just open up the nasal passages. So, you know, that's a great thought to be having. Okay, so let's talk about diphthongs really quickly. So diphthongs, you guys all are familiar with diphthongs, right? Combination of two vowels, like I, or ow, or oi, right? Some people will put O in there. You're from Minnesota, right?
Soda.
I don't do that accent very well. So what we look for, though, in a diphthong then, is basically two vowels squished together on the spectrogram. So we have the on glide. Here's the terminology. You want to make sure you understand. On glide right here, first vowel associated with the ah. Here is the off glide, the formants associated with the second vowel, the e. Right? So when we put them together, what's happening in your mouth? It's moving, right? Okay, so we have a formant transition in between, and then if they held this one out a little longer, you'd have more of the formant pattern from the I, or from the E, at the end. So, on glide, formant transition, off glide. Everybody good with the terminology? Okay. Same thing on this one. Start out with the ah position, and we transition, and then the off glide would be that oo positioning to make that ow. Almost a new position. Okay. So, look on your sheet. There are I did three diphthongs. So look for things that look like vowels, but they shift from one to the other.
Oh, yeah.
So diphthongs, can you pull this to the doctor?
Yep.
Anybody find one? Okay, so I heard, start here, hold your thought. Say it again. Fourth from the left.
Fourth from the left.
Okay, so that one actually, you're close though, and you're looking at the right thing. So I want to tell you why it's wrong, but it's not really wrong.
Which one? Fourth from the left?
Yeah, are you on the back side?
Yeah, I'm having a
This one, right here. Mr. Sather and I can't follow directions this morning. Okay. So, this is the one that they're looking at, okay? So what do you see? You see some formants that look a lot like vowels, right? You see those formants moving. You're looking at the right thing. It is a, yes, a glide. Yeah. So this is a ya. So how are glides different from diphthongs? They're pretty darn similar, right? We call them semivowels for a reason. Okay, so it looks a lot like, and actually this one right here is a diphthong. Okay, this is O. This one, O. I didn't really overemphasize the uta in it, so it's fairly steady, but you can see formant transition right here. Okay, so on glide, the O, and then here's the formant transition. And if you have a Minnesota accent, please record yourself and send it to me so that I can use a better one next year. Okay, and then the off glide over here for that the oo part of the vowel. Okay, good. So if you look at the two of those, really similar. They both have the same kind of movements. Okay, so if on an exam you looked at a spectrogram and you said, that sure looks like a diphthong to me, and you justify it with a formant transition, full points. No problem. This one? This one? Oh, like oh, I don't do phonetics, so I learned it this way as a diphthong. So this is why I don't teach phonetics. Yep.
Okay, you know we just talked about the formant transition. It's just where it like starts to like glide up.
Where it's moving, yeah. So as it that incline
or decline. Yeah, it doesn't have to be up. Just a transition, a change.
Yep. So any kind of sloped line, the formant is a formant transition. Okay? Let's find another one. Find a better one. I and ow I did.
How about back corner?
So I got a vote for second one in the second row. Absolutely. On the front page. Yeah. Right here. Okay. So just so you guys know, this is an I. On glide, then you can see the formants move, right? So this one's going down, this one's going up. So the formants don't always move the same. Second formant might do something different than first formant. Depends on how the tongue's moving, right? Is it going up and back? Is it going up and forward? Is it going, makes a difference. And then at the end, the off glide. So where it sort of gets into steady state again very briefly. Okay, last one. Last one in the bottom row. Awesome, you guys are good.
Nice work.
Okay, yeah, ow. That one's ow, okay? So, start, I'm not saying ow, it's the vowel ow. Okay, so you have on glide, and then the transitions here, not as dramatic, right? And then the off glide over here. So basically we have two different formant patterns combined with sloping lines in between. Everybody good so far?
And you can see with the diphthongs too, there's just a little bit of time involved on a relative scale. So if you're trying to compare, for example, stops and diphthongs, you can see the difference in the amount of time that there is for the transition. So that's another way to think about it. If you see something that's very, very brief, even on a relative standpoint, you know it's probably not a diphthong.
Good, all right, can you put me back to the PowerPoint?
You bet.
All right, so let's move into the ones that are a little bit more fun. So we already talked a little bit about glides. You guys found the ya. See if you can quick find the wa. And the difference of these between glides and diphthongs is just how fast they move. So wa and ya, really quick movement versus I, slow, right? That's the only difference. So see if you can find the W on there. hardly any beginning where we would call it a non-glide for a diphthong, and the off glide at the end. There's a little more on the back side. Mostly it's just a slanted line, right? You don't really have a lot of on and off glide. That's the only difference from a diphthong. That's how close they are. Okay? All right. Questions on that one? All right, let's keep rolling. Got a couple more to do. So next up, liquids. Okay, so this is that tongue tip piece. We know that the tongue tip goes up for both of these. When we do that, look at what happens to the third formant. So here's the vowel before, right? It's got first formant, second formant, third formant. Here's the L. It drops so far, we can't even separate it from the first formant anymore. Everybody see that? The third formant disappeared. Way, way, way low. Okay? Same thing with R. You can see the transitions here a little bit, but not quite as far down. Everybody see that? So you're looking at first, second, third formant, this one right here, the one that's right around 3,000 hertz. It's just fallen, and the second one falls too, but they're both falling really low. So look and see, L and R are both on here. Can you find those two? Look for a really big drop in that third formant. And remember, I didn't put vowels at the beginning, so it's going to just look like the third formant is really low across the board. Okay. The rest. We'll get there. Okay. So did you find one? You guys have a guess? Back page, first row, first one. Absolutely. So, it doesn't look right.
How about that?
Thank you.
Just checking, make sure everybody's
Yep.
got it.
So this one is an L. So what do you notice about the formants? Because all I did was go, oh, I didn't put a vowel in front. They're all grouped way down here, right? 1, 2, 3, right in a row. That's an L. You even see them as separate formants, right? Because they're all grouped so closely together. So if I had done a la or, ely or something with a vowel, we would have seen formants more up here, drop down, and then back up. Okay, so that's what you look for in connected speech, but we'll get to that. Okay, what about the R? Anybody find the R? Second row, middle one on the front page. You got it. This great big baby right here. Yep. Okay, so again, I didn't put vowels in front of it, but you can see all of the formants grouped really low. Okay, as compared to our E on the other side. See how the formants were higher? Okay, because it helps to compare. So all the formants down here below, I don't know what this is, maybe 2,000 hertz or 2,000 hertz. That's pretty low. Okay, got those? Okay, let's talk about stops. I think that's what's next. So stops will be relatively easy to find on your sheet for two reasons. So first of all, stops are more of a transient sound. So like Mr. Sather pointed out just a minute ago, they happen really fast, relatively speaking. I can't hold out a B as long as I can hold out ooh, right? So it's going to look really short. The other thing that you look for, that I look for, is this release burst. Okay? So what I'm talking about, see how short these are compared to the others? But this line going up, these are the release bursts. So anytime that you open your lips or your tongue palate contact, this little burst of air comes out and it makes noise. And we can record that. Okay? So the only difference between the voiceless and the voiced is whether the voice is turned on. We talked about that, right, with the categorical perception. So see how B and D and and G have a voice bar. It does the voicing across. Okay, so in 2 minutes, because I think you can find these really fast, find stops. See if you can identify voiceless.
Go back one slide.
I got it. Oh, yeah.
Can you just cut and paste all this from back?
It was kind of irritating. Well, and then I did it for words, and then I did it for the distorted spectrogram for us. That's what I spent all afternoon doing. Okay, it got really quiet. Did you guys find them all already?
Too easy, huh?
Should have started with these, right? These are easy. Okay. So if you're looking at your page, second one, right? That's a D. Okay, what's another one? Last one in that row. Voiced or voiceless? Voiceless, right? No voice bar.
Nice.
Okay? That's actually a K. You can't tell the difference between them just by looking at this. At least I can. Maybe there's some experts out there who could do that. All right, got another one? Bottom row, first one. Yep. Voiceless, no voice bar. Good. That's up. Pup. Okay, just you say this jumping ahead because you can see where they are now.
Yep, yeah. Come on,
All right,
guys.
so second to last one in that row, voiced or voiceless? Voiced, right? And you can see the formants a little bit better, so you know that there's some voicing going on there. This is a buh. Okay. Second one, voiceless, no voicing, and formants are really weak. You can hardly even see them. Okay. Tough, that's tough. Last one. Right there, right? So voiced or voiceless? Voiced. Good. Everybody's getting that, seems like. That's a go. All right. So, can you put us back to the PowerPoint? One more category that we're going to look at. I did not put affricates on here, so I'll try to give you guys an example of that. I don't think I have any, and I forgot when I was in the voice group, so I'll record some today. So fricatives really are characterized by this noise, aperiodic energy across the frequencies, but you'll note that some of them have really high frequency concentrated energy, right? So really high energy versus you can hear that, right? It sounds a little lower. So we see it coming a little bit lower in the frequency range, okay? Versus much lower down here, okay? Here's kind of spread across the whole thing, okay? So across here, they're all paired with their voiced cognate. What do you notice about the voiced sound? You have a voice bar at the bottom. What else? What about the energy up here? It's usually not quite as strong, right? So the difference between the voiceless and the voiced is the bar at the bottom, and we lose a little of that upper energy depending on the sound, okay? And the speaker, it's going to be different for everybody, okay? So look at your sheet here. By this point, we should be sort of process of elimination. But look for some fricatives. What do they look like? And see if you can tell voiced versus voiceless.
pretty good.
Ready? Okay, so let's look at a couple. First one you want to look at. Top row, fourth one. Right? I mean, all the rest that are left are fricative. So, anybody have a guess? So it's got to be a fricative, right? So, is it voiced or voiceless? Looks voiceless, right? We don't have that really low voice bar. Kind of concentrated higher, but not super concentrated. Yeah, this is a actually it's a voice. I'm wrong. It does have voicing. I was wondering about that. So, yeah, this is a doesn't think like phonetic symbol. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it does have some voicing. Okay, but weak voicing. So try to do it, right? And hold it out and have it sound clear. Yeah, good. Okay, let's find another one. Second row, first one, right? There it's more clear. Voiced or voiceless? Voiceless, right? This is a TH. It's hard for me to project that enough for those of you in the back to hear. Right? That's sound. Okay? So, voiceless.
Voiceless. Yep.
Lots of high frequency energy. Notice how it's kind of hard to see a forming pattern. The dots are just kind of all over the place. That's what's going. Okay? All right. Let's point out one or two more because we got to let you guys go. Bottom row, third one. Right here. Voice, right? You see the voice bar? Any guesses? So, I got a guess for a TH. You're on the right track. This is actually a Z. Okay? Don't worry if you guys don't identify the right sound. This is a Z. But notice how it's kind of all across the board. Okay? All right, so quickly just to tell you the other ones. Third one, top row on the back, is a B. So voiced. First one, second row on the back is an S. The third one is a voiced TH. So the, like the or breathe. And the last, very last one is the SH, the voiceless SH. Okay.
Say again. Which row?
Okay, so we will see you guys back on Monday and do a lab. Take a peek at the lab before Monday.
Okay, so we gotta save and stop that thing, see?